The action was hot and heavy when ATV Motocross hit 3 palms in Texas. And our last round of the series featured young guns showing they had the pace to run with the established stars. As the likes of Ford and Hogue ran up front, Joe Hetrick eventually was able to get around and muscle his way into the lead. Defending series champion Chad Wienen found himself buried early. And it was not easy to get around the young talent up front, while Hetrick sailed to a moto win. Second time out, Hetrick grabbed the whole shot, making life much easier as Wienen again was forced to make passes, and Hogue in the 26 proved stingy. Finally, using his trademark whoop speed, he was able to move into second and then challenge Hetrick for the lead. Max Lindquist had a good ride going until mechanical problems slowed him. While Hetrick got the memo that Wienen was coming and was able to pull back away and sweep the day. It's been a great start to the season for the 88. Can he keep it rolling today in Georgia? ATV National Motocross rolls into Aonia Pass in Washington, Georgia. Jason Wygant here to give you the call on MAV TV, but what has also rolled in are dark skies and now rain. So Friday's festivities heavily dampened by that, and now you can see the damage that has been done to the racetrack. Now ATV motocross racers are no stranger to rain. They seem to get it more often than not, but this is an extreme case. Almost anyone that went out there ended up getting stuck in our amateur racing. Then we switched to the pros, who normally have some qualifying to do, and obviously that was going to be difficult on them. Even running the full mud setups, you can plug the radiators, you can put the bigger tires, you can duct tape over things all you want, but these conditions were, I don't want to say all time, because again, we've seen this many times in this series, but they were certainly challenging. And it throws a real wrinkle into things, because so many riders having breakthrough type seasons. Nick Januso has been very fast, Max Lindquist, Brandon Hogue, the Ford brothers, and they've been challenging the traditional favorites of Chad Wienen and Joe Hetrick. So we're going to see if today it can keep that momentum going or not. But honestly, in conditions like this, it's really not about speed, it's about just surviving. Let's check in with Hetrick for strategy.
There's just so much rain, exactly when the forecast predicted it. Rain from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. or a.m. So it's pretty bad. I don't think every single class that's raced, someone has blown up. But it'll get better. We don't race for another 2 hours, I think, so we'll be all right.
And there you see the first lesson these riders always tell you. Try to stay positive when you have difficult conditions. I don't know if it's going to be all right. Let's check in with Chad Wienen now.
It's going to be really tough conditions, but try to get to this qualifier, get into racing, get a good gate to go see what we can do. But looking forward to it, you know. Hopefully not get stuck, right?
Like I said, keep it positive. Okay, we're going to bring them out. They got the bigger mud tires here. I'm sure they've got the goggles and the machines prepped as best as they can. But this qualifying session is going to look a little different than most, although got to be impressed with the speed we are seeing. That's Brandon Hogue right there on the 26. Slinging it around pretty good. It's normally red Georgia clay here. It's just slick mud now. By the way, we're outside of Atlanta, so the Atlanta Braves look on Hetrick's machine. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. It's Ford. We're gonna hit some air. Yeah, still doing the jumps. It's Jeffrey Rostrelli. That's the one thing about ATVs. They can sling mud. They can get down to the drier stuff with enough laps. And that's what these riders are doing right now. And it is bad, but I cannot believe it's this good, considering how much rain we had and how bad the conditions were earlier. There's Torini, the young rider out of Italy, visiting the series this year. Wienen. Michael Allred. Max Lindquist on the 2. It's a shame, too, 'cause this track is one of the best, I feel, for the ATVs. It's pretty wide, fast, and flowing. We normally have great racing here. It's probably going to be a little bit more one line. Well, I can guarantee you it's going to be more one line. The question is, how one line will it be? Because although they can sling the mud off and dry up certain areas, the entire width of the track is not going to end up in that condition. So you're going to have that one dry line, and then everybody else, if you try to go outside of that, you're just going to get bogged down in the muck. Brandon Hogue has been fast all year. He continues to be fast in qualifying. We'll see how he does in the races. ATV Motocross for 2022 is brought to you by RP Race Performance, by Rocky Mountain ATVMC, and by CST Tires. Welcome back to ATV Motocross from Aonia Pass in Georgia. The headline today is the weather. Big rain early in the weekend. Now we've got to get the machines cleaned up and the track as well after qualifying and see how much we can salvage. And now we get ready for the first moto of the day. Jason Wygant here to give you the call. And it's going to be a survival race after the start. It'll be a mad dash, more intense than ever, to get up front early. And then after that, you're going to have to take what you can get. Here we go. And that looks like Hedrick got the Atlanta Braves colors, and that's what I'm talking about. He was fast in the turn 1, and everybody else is getting destroyed by these conditions. And look at the lead he has already. If you ever wanted a hole shot, this is the time you want it the most. The lead, that's Rastrelli in second, then Wienen, Allred, and Ford. And Hedrick showing off those Atlanta Braves colors in that machine. You can actually tell he's completely clean. In Phoenix Racing, they're going to run a different livery at every race this year. Some retro, some for the local fans. Zach Decker, the first of, I believe, many who will have problems in this moto. As I mentioned in qualifying, you get off the main line, you're going to be done because they push the mud off to the side of the track. That's how you try to salvage things. And then you send the machines out there. They sling the mud out of the main line and off to the sides even further. Strelly just looking to hang on to that number 2 spot. Vision, you see him pulling the roll-offs. That will be a big deal as well. And this has to be a relief if you're a Joel Hedrick fan, because we had some mud races last year and his machine didn't get to the finish line, and you could argue that cost him the championship. So here, I'm sure the idea is just score points, not necessarily win, but the way this turned out here, winning is also the best way to conserve the equipment, because he's not taking on anybody's mud, he's not getting roosted. Making it that much easier to just run an easy, controlled pace and also make it a little less stressful on the machine. Checking in with Bryce Ford here, and normally we would be hyping up. You know, Ford has shown race-winning type speed over the last season and a half, but today, I don't know how concerned anyone is with just running people down and battling. I just want to get as close to the podium as you can. Here's Hedrick, originally out of Pennsylvania, now listed as a native of North Carolina. That's where the Phoenix Racing Squad is based. And you know, the dark skies here, man, you might even get more rain before this is over. I actually think the fact that it's overcast, if it doesn't rain, might be better, because as the track begins to dry, it actually gets to a point where it gets worse. Riders would actually take a little bit of soft, slippery mud as opposed to when it dries and it starts to get sticky, and then the machines get heavy, and it's like riding through glue at times. So as this dries out, it's actually going to go from bad to worse before it can flip all the way the other way around. Lindquist, a problem, a crash for the young rider out of Wisconsin. We're mentioning the young riders making bids toward their first ever race wins. Man, tough break for him. Back to Rastrelli, a solid second right now. And Wienen just content in third. I think Ford may be closing a little bit, but I don't know if you're going to be able to attack and make passes today. But this is pivotal. these are the types of days where championships really swing. And again, that's the story Hetrick has seen far too many times. Chad Wienen and the Wienen Motorsports team, just the masters of avoiding the bad race, especially in the frequent muddy conditions we tend to get in this series. And you see Decker and Lindquist, who had the problems earlier, they're done. They're just stuck on the side of the track. Nowhere to go, can't get out. Impressive that Hetrick's able to throw down this type of speed and jump these jumps. Phoenix Racing have been a Honda team forever, and they still are in the two-wheeled portion. They race everything. Monster Energy Supercross, Arena Cross, Pro Motocross on bikes. There's Decker finally getting a toe out, but they've gone to the Yamaha as fuel injection, a little more modern equipment here on the ATV side. Honda has not actually sold the TRX 450R for a long time, so they'll run Yamahas here. They're primarily a Honda-style team. Most of the things they do, somebody is losing their roll-offs, which is the worst-case scenario in a mud race. It's actually the film that goes over the lens of the goggles to allow them to continue to get clear vision. Hetrick looking to bring this one home. And Hetrick looking clean. Still, a lap traffic will probably have to become a factor unless everybody just gets stuck or blows up an engine. Look how muddy Bryce Ford is in comparison. And there's the traffic. Tarini there. Ford gets sideways. Again, you get off to the side of the track. That's no man's land, and you can get stuck very easily. Wienen now trying to catch Rastrelli. This is valuable points if he can get to second, but you really want to be careful with it. By the way, it is a two-moto format in ATV Motocross, so we'll have another race right after this. There's Tarini, the rider out of Italy. Saw him getting sideways. He has gotten stuck. I think Ford, though, was able to keep going. And now I've heard the story with Lindquist, the number 2 you see off the side of the track. He had actually stopped for goggles and got stuck getting back onto the racetrack because, again, the side of the track is where the mud is the deepest. Last lap, almost a mercy rule here as these riders just looking to bring it home. Rastrelli, Wienen, Ford, and the leader, Hetrick, on a very rugged day here in Georgia. Checkered flag in sight. That's going to feel good. Hetrick doing what he needs to do. He's always had the speed. He's won this title a few times. But when he does not win the title, it's often days like this where things go south for him. But not in the first moto. No problems at all. Wienen third. Janusa gets fourth. We will be right back. ATV Motocross on MAV TV is brought to you by RP Race Performance, by Rocky Mountain ATVMC, and by CST Tires. Well, you're going to need the CST tires to hook up today. Conditions a little better for Moto 2 on what has primarily been a mud race weekend here at Aonia Pass. Let's see how it turns out. Hetrick getting bumped around, this time not going to get the whole shot. No! Wienen is going to get it. I think that was Rastrelli who looked to have the whole shot and then got sideways. And that slowed up several riders, and Wienen, the beneficiary, able to slide through. Hetrick up to second, and now the battle is on. Shout out Zach Decker, who had the problems, didn't finish Moto 1. A great start here in third. You got Ford there. Listen to that. Rastrelli just digging through, and that's what everybody's dealing with right now. So Chad Wienen, third in Moto 1, leading in Moto 2. Decker just getting over that big double. And how is it going to play out? We have not seen passing today on this very difficult racetrack with these conditions. Will Hetrick go for the Moto win? Will he shoot for it? Or will he just try to take the conservative route and go for points? He would still win the overall like this with 1-2 finishes because Wienen had the third in Moto 1. Decker and Bryce Ford battling it out here. Oh, Ford found a new line around the outside. Let's see if it holds up. Well, he didn't get stuck. That's a win in itself. in these conditions, but it wasn't enough to make the pass. But look, he's all over this track, trying to make things happen. He's got Rastrelli right with him. And then we check back in with the leaders, and it looks like Hetrick is closing, but will it be enough? Well, Wesley Wolf has gotten stuck. That's inevitable. It was going to happen to someone. And Hetrick continues to close the gap on Wienen. Ford and Rastrelli continue to put pressure on Decker. It's going to get interesting. How risky do you want to get to make passes today? We have seen the championship between Wienen and Hetrick multiple times come down to a few points. Even the individual swing in this moto could make all the difference. So the championship is paid out in each individual moto. So there's certainly incentive for Hetrick to go after Wienen. But at the same time, as I mentioned in Moto 1, the mud races have led to his undoing with mechanical problems before. And you start taking mud through the radiators of these machines, and you're stressing the equipment out. Hetrick is there, applying a little bit of pressure, but I don't know, if he gets much closer, that's when you're really in the roost zone. You're going to destroy the goggles. You better have something picked out quick. You cannot camp out on the rear grab bar in conditions like this. Although, again, they are getting better. Just one soft spot, and it looks like Ford has made the move on Decker now for third. You get behind someone in one soft spot, and you're going to be toast. And now the lead is opened back up. So advantage to Wienen here. And looking for different lines. Down to the inside, Rastrelli on Decker. Rastrelli in the red gear makes the pass. Going to be a good day for Jeffrey, looking for a podium. We go back to the leader, Wienen. Rocky Mountain ATVMX on board with Rastrelli. Been a bit of a slow start by his usual standards, as Wienen, 8-time champion, looking to break the all-time mark. He's tied currently with the great Gary Denton for all-time titles in this series. Vince Merman out. But Wienen, a little bit of a slow start by his normal standards. This moto win would feel great. 2 to go. And I think if you're Hetrick, you're going to hang in there and take the 2-1 overall win. Decker and Hogue now battling. Great run for Decker. Hogue looking to make moves as we're into the stretch run. There's the gap between Wienen and Hetrick with the white flag en route. And Ford shaking his head. I think the goggles were gone. That makes for a long day. Hetrick has gotten back to the rear grab bar of Wienen. Maybe he's waiting until the very end here to make an attack. Like I said, you can't camp out there all moto. You'll just take too much roost. Now white flag is out, and he's going to make a dash for it. We've got a battle on our hands in a classic Wienen versus Hetrick. Ford coming across in third. Hetrick had a line dialed. Now they're into lap traffic. He's going for the 1-1. No matter what the conditions are, these two put on a show week in and week out. Is there a spot where Hetrick can find another line and not take too much risk doing it? Got to deal with the lap traffic again. And that worked to Wienen's advantage. White flag waving, half a lap to go. Wienen's got to be clean, literally and figuratively, through these corners, and he's got it. And for the first time, we get down to some dry dirt. Did you see that? Almost ironic here on the final lap of the weekend. Hetrick still charging. Checkered flag. And Wienen takes a much-needed moto win here early in 2022. But Hetrick is going to get the overall with 1-2 scores. Wienen will go 3-1 on the day. And Rastrelli, as mentioned, a solid run for the podium with Ford and Hogue in the top 5. This is a rough one on everybody. Let's check in with the winners.
It was a good day for us, the Rastrelli Racing crew. It was a tough day. The track conditions were absolutely unbelievable, and we ended up putting together 2 solid motos, and we've been working hard to be up here. So I'm glad to be up here, and the team worked hard, and yeah, it was a good day today.
I just feel really good getting that second moto start and leading it from start to finish, and stopping the bleeding of Joel's dominance there. And man, it feels good. Hopefully we're trending in the right direction with that. And man, just gnarly conditions today. I don't think I've ever ridden anything quite like it. The heaviness of the dirt, the ruts, the whole shot was crazy. And man, glad to come out with a good score today, and looking forward to PA here in a couple weeks.
Gnarly race we had today. Track conditions were not ideal, of course. The rain, we got rain for 5 hours straight probably, so you can imagine how it made the track. Just, you know, was started in second and ended in second. I put on a hard charge toward the end of the race. Wasn't willing to get stuck and ruin the day for me. I knew 1-2 would give me the overall, so that was my goal all day. Get that overall. Feeling a little under the weather with the bug I had last night, stomach bug. So just fortunate that it ended up the way it did. And you know, I can't thank the team enough, Phoenix Racing, and you know, everyone backing me. This is it's 3 in a row, so I feel really good and just got to keep the ball rolling.
Yes, fantastic start to the season for Hetrick. Here's your CST Tires race recap. It was really sloppy in Moto 1. He got the whole shot. Everybody else completely buried, covered, muddy. And look how clean and fast Hetrick was just because of that start. Zach Decker had problems. Max Lindquist would try to re-enter the track after getting goggles. He would get stuck as Hetrick pulled away. Chad Wienen would put a little bit of pressure on Jeffrey Rastrelli for second, but there was simply no alternative lines to make passes. There's Ford dealing with lap traffic and showing you how tough this track can be. There is Lindquist. He got stuck, as I said, trying to get back onto the track after visiting the mechanics area. There is the checkered flag for Hetrick. We move on to Moto 2. Rastrelli had the whole shot, spin sideways, and that opens the door for Wienen to sneak by. And look at those conditions everybody else is left to deal with. Hetrick quickly to second, made a run at it. Zach Decker, a nice recovery. Moto 1 was running third for a while. Eventually Ford able to get by him. And Wienen holding strong under pressure from Hetrick. There's Rastrelli making the move late to hold on to his podium position. There's the point standings. Ford is third. Hetrick already a 21-point lead over Wienen, looking good in the early season. For everyone at Racer TV, I'm Jason Wygant. Thanks for watching The Mud Race from Aonia Pass. We'll see you next week.